What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the I don't know what we're calling this, driving around talking about tone stuff segment of the channel. This is a deal where if you want to ask a really nerdy question, get in the comments of this video and ask that question, and then we will pick from those comments for a future driving around and talking about nerdy stuff video. Today we have a very interesting question, and I love this kind of question. This came out of our last one because we're going to get super nerdy. We're going to use computational fluid dynamics from my past profession. We're going to use a bunch of stuff. So, assuming all electronic variables are the same pickups, pot values, etc., what makes a hollow body electric sound different than a solid body electric? I'm not trying to dispute anything about the way you've explained how pickups work. I agree with all that. I just don't understand why they sound different when there's no difference in the circuit. I love this question. Okay, so a couple things that we need to, I'm gonna go get my hair cut today. A couple of things that we need to understand. Thank you, radar detector. To get this out of the way. One, the difference between a microphone and a pickup. A microphone uses a diaphragm with a coil on it, and that diaphragm moves up and down, and then that coil goes on the outside of a magnet and it creates electricity. And it uses air to push on that diaphragm to do it. An electric guitar pickup uses the magnetized string within the magnetic field. It is not using moving air, okay? So people think that they're the same, but they're not. It's the same electronic concept, but the kinetic energy that's being converted is different. And that's a very fundamental thing, the difference between a microphone and a pickup. The reason it's relevant is because what happens with an acoustic instrument, which a semi-hollow guitar or a hollow guitar in this case is going to become an acoustic instrument with a pickup in it. So it's going to have sort of a crossover of the two things. So we need to understand that first. Secondly, when you strike the string on a solid body instrument, you're changing kinetic energy, the motion of the string, to an electronic impulse with an electric transducer, okay? On an acoustic instrument, what you're doing is you're actually moving air. So when you strike the string on an acoustic instrument, the bridge moves, and the top of the guitar is basically a diaphragm, and it moves air at a certain pulse. That pulse comes out the sound hole and then comes to our ear and moves the diaphragm in our ear. It does all the things that ear things do. So it's a motion, it's moving air. It's the same thing as striking a drum. When you strike a drum top, the air motion goes to the bottom of the drum and then back up, and that's what creates the tone of a drum. And it also has to do with, the sides of the drum and the construction of it or whatever, but it's basically the transmission of moving air, okay? One of the other concepts that you need, that we all need to understand about this is and this comes from my computational fluid dynamics background when it comes to airflow and aerodynamics and a whole bunch of stuff from another profession, but it's the same concept. Think of air as a fluid, okay? So when we're designing something, whether it to be aerodynamically efficient, or we're designing a cylinder head so that air-fuel mixture goes through a cylinder head to create horsepower, like that's my background with that stuff, you have to think of air as a hydraulic entity, okay? So we think of air as air, and you just go like this and you can move your hand through it. But air actually has mass, okay? And it has, if you think of it as a liquid, when you push on it, the energy pushes to the other side, right? Like with water, if you push, the water will come out the other side. So you have to think of air the same way. Now, getting back to a semi-hollow guitar. When you have a semi-hollow guitar with a thin top and a thin back, when you strike the string, whether there is a center block in the guitar or not, okay, the air moves inside the guitar. The top moves, the air moves, it comes out the sound hole, and it also moves the pickup in relation to the strings. That sounds weird, but it's true. If you take so I'll give you an example of this. And what happens is you're basically creating feedback, but it's not actually feedback because it's not going out of control. So what you're doing is when you strike the string, the top is pushing, it's pushing against the back, and you're creating this hydraulic motion of air, which moves the top again more than a solid body guitar would. You could say, well, on a solid, that proves that tone wood is a thing. Okay. All things being equal, which they're not, because a solid body guitar, when you strike the string, it's a transverse wave that goes through the guitar and comes back and forth between the nut and the saddle and the nut and the saddle, and some of that energy gets lost into the guitar. On an acoustic guitar, when that energy gets lost into the guitar, it actually comes back because of the hydraulic energy of the air in the guitar. So the top moves differently. It also is prone to having certain frequencies fed back in a small way. Think of it this way: have you ever been playing an electric guitar really loud in a room where there's a bunch of acoustic guitars? You go into Guitar Center somewhere and there's a bunch of acoustic guitars, and you play an electric guitar really loud, and certain chords that you strum, usually G or E, all of the guitars on the wall will start to hum. Have you ever had that happen? So basically what's happening is that's happening inside the guitar. Then those, in various places, like as we play, various areas in the frequency spectrum, at very small, minute levels, and that is affecting the pickup actually moving in relation to the string. So the pickup's not actually still anymore. The air is moving the top around. The air is moving the back around. The guitar just moves around more. It's totally resonant, bro. And this is one of those cases where you could actually say that, where the resonant frequencies of the guitar are actually moving it differently. Not a one-to-one in relation to the string, because you've got so much going on there. That's also why like a 335 will sound different than a Gretsch. Like you could put humbuckers in a Gretsch, you could put humbuckers in a 335 and the guitar will sound different. Why? Because the top of the body is a different shape, it's a different size, it's a different thickness, the volume of air in the body is different, totally hollow guitars like early harmonies. My dad really loves totally hollow guitars with no center block in them, because the top actually moves like an acoustic guitar and it gives you a completely different feel. The other thing too is it feels different on your body, so your middle ear, the vibrations against your body play with your middle ear differently, and so you as a player, as you feel that, you'll hear that and it'll sound different to you as a player, even if it doesn't sound the same across the room. The other thing too, when we're looking at all of this, is that when you play a guitar, let's say you play a guitar direct with no amp in the room versus a guitar into an amp with a speaker, that's basically feedback, even though it isn't, because those frequencies that are the same that are coming out of the guitar are coming back to the guitar, and that can sound and feel different too. So there's a lot of sound/feel there, but that's it. you are moving the guitar and you're moving the pickups in relation. Because anytime the pickup moves and it's not supposed to, that changes how the pickup sounds, if that makes sense. So the pickup in an ideal world should stay 100% still, and then the string will move accurately within the magnetic field. If the pickup moves in relation to it, then it's going to sound different, which is basically what you're doing. All this fancy stuff about computational fluid dynamics, all you're doing is doing that. With a semi-hollow guitar, the pickup is actually moving around. It's kind of an easier way to explain that. Anyway, there you go. I'm sure somebody's going to argue with that and say I'm wrong and all that stuff, but it's really neat. It's really cool. Airflow and that stuff is stuff that I have studied for many, many years and done a lot of neat things with. And I think it's very cool as it applies to the guitar. It doesn't really apply to a solid body guitar because there's no air moving. It is very much completely a mechanical action. But when you move air around, or you put air into the variable, and you put a moving top into the variable, basically you have an acoustic guitar with a pickup in it. Completely changes everything. So super fun though. I think it's neat. If you have any questions about it, if you have any comments, if you have a question for the next video, put it in the comments and we will answer that in the next video. Like and subscribe. Go to DylanTalksTone, buy awesome pickups. I'll leave a link to all of it. Actually, I'll scan the little thing right here on the screen, and we'll see you in the next one.